Welcome. It's wonderful to see all of you here. Thank you so much for showing up on this afternoon, going into evening. And we're going to just jump right in. I want to introduce the wonderful Nikki Winslow, the Library District Director, who has just been amazing in terms of facilitating the Poet Laureate program here. And we're so thrilled to work with her. Yay.
All right, good evening or afternoon. Welcome to the beautiful Altadena Main Library. My name is Nikki Winslow. I'm the district director here at the Altadena Library District. We're going to start out this program with our district land acknowledgement statement. The Altadena Library District acknowledges its presence on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded land of the Gabrielino Tongva peoples. Altadena is located on the stolen homelands of the Hahamanga tribal band. The traditional territory of the Gabrielino Tongva is referred to as Tongbangar, which includes the areas currently known as Los Angeles County, Riverside County, West San Bernardino County, parts of Orange County, as well as the 4 Southern Channel Islands. Entities such as the United States government and non-native settlers have subjected the Gabrielino Tongva peoples to historic and continuing injustices, including genocide, forced displacement, and cultural and linguistic erasure. Altadena Library commits to learning, educating, and informing its staff and residents of present-day Altadena about the rich histories, vibrant communities, and culture of the Gabrielino Tongva people, present and past, through our collection development, resources, and program offerings. I want to thank all of you for coming to our launch event of the Poets Laureate 2022-2023 season. The vision of the Altadena Library District is an Altadena where everyone is learning, growing, and thriving together. To achieve that vision, our library district works every day at being an inclusive and empowering space for families and individuals of all identities. Today and throughout the year, we demonstrate that commitment through programming, collections, and services that support communities affected by marginalization and discrimination. I'm especially excited about the Poets Laureate program that has been put together for this upcoming year. Now for introductions. Peter J. Harris, twice winner of the Penn Oakland Josephine Miles Award, is our new Altadena Poet Laureate Editor-in-Chief. Okay. And Carla Samet, founding member of the Pasadena Rose Poets and longtime cultural worker for social justice, is the new Altadena Poet Laureate for community events. Their publishing work is far too much to name, unless you all want to spend the night, and I guess this wouldn't be a bad place to have to do that. So please check out all of their full accolades on our website on the poetry page. So that's altadenalibrary.org/poetry. The Poets Laureate program was founded in 2004 and has been sponsored by our wonderful friends of the Altadena Library's support group throughout these past 2 decades. Many of the former poets are here tonight. We are grateful to them for contributing to this amazing launch event. I'm also excited to share that our Board of Trustees officially appointed both Peter and Carla at their July 25th board meeting to recognize their this long-standing program and its contributions to the community. So they're totally official now. I have also enjoyed my time with both of them so far, as well as the past, I've been here almost 3 years working with our previous Poets Laureates. I know I'm very excited to see the work that the 2 of them will do for this 2022-23 season. I truly hope you're inspired and uplifted by tonight's event. Please help me welcome Peter Harris and Carla Samet.
Hello.
You ready?
We want to welcome Eileen Lifton to a former Poet Laureate, 2006, 16 to 2018.
Poetic libation. Thank you so much. I'm reading a little early and I feel so regretful to have to leave, but it's back to school night. So I'm headed to a back to school event soon after. But I wanted to say I'm so honored and thrilled to be part of this program and to start it off. Many thanks to Peter and Carla for organizing, and as always to the library, who's been such a strong supporter of this program. And I just can't wait to see what's ahead. I know there'll be many wonderful things. So I was looking for my neighbor, who I don't think is here, Tom Johnson. But since I think of this as a community gathering and a community tradition, I thought I would read an Altadena poem to start us off. And this poem is called The Matriarch of Marigold Street, and it's dedicated to my across the street neighbor, Lucille Jones, who lived on our street, Marigold Street, just a few blocks north, for over 60 years. And Tom was just very instrumental in helping her in her older years. And I met her just as I moved in. My son was an infant, and you can tell now I'm off to back to school night how things have progressed. For Lucille B. Jones, matriarch of Marigold Street, Altadena, California. The first time I saw you, you told me how your husband had brought you, a young bride from North Carolina, to be near the Pacific and the mountains, their wall of shadow and heat cast against the house he built, roots grown deep over 60 years. Now he's a ghost you talk to in odd hours, the lilt of your accent calling him back. Making your way down the drive, you were always glad to see me and my newborn, also at the end of our drive, head cradled as we bent awkwardly to lift up the news, his fuzz of hair edging the carrier, his uncertain feet dangling out. A compass of neighbors checks if your paper is still there past 10, the mail past 4, peeks through your east window for movement, watches the light settle at night on the west. We know you're safe again when the Webster's Pharmacy half-truck delivers its rounds. Old age is not for sissies, you said often, late in your 90s, resolute, housebound, everyone subtly watching you as you once surveyed passerby from your porch. New family, old guard, the lemon trees shadow us both, their dappled waft of blossom and decay drifting across our yards like an unseen canopy, the reach of invisible arms sheltering us all. Thank you so much.
Okay, good evening. What we want to do now is say thank you to all of our former laureates. Eileen is the laureate from May 2016 to April 2018. We took the time to do a tad bit of homework, so we checked in with Ms. Dutton, who is not able to join us this evening. So we're going to just kind of go in order, and whoever's here, we want to make sure we give you love and honor and respect, because there ain't no 2022, 2024 laureates without the previous laureates. As we would say, as my dad would say, can I get a witness? So the Altadena Poets Laureate Program was founded by Paulie Dutton, and we are grateful to have her husband, Mr. Richard Dutton, here. Before I ask him to come up and read, and Carla may ask him to come up and read, so we want to make sure we know that we are giving Ms. Dutton all love, and we're grateful that Mr. Dutton is here. So I'll ask you to breathe with me a second. I'll finish the list and make sure we honor everybody else who's here, okay? So the first, Ms. Dutton was the founder of the program. The first laureate, May 2006, to April 2008 was Ralph Lane. Mr. Lane has passed on. We did actually reach out to his family to see if one or another member of the family would come and share with us one of his poems. But in fact, it wasn't possible. Mr. Dutton will also read one of his poems later. Coming in 2008 to 2010, Marcia Thompson was the next poet laureate. And we never reached her, did we? Yeah, but we still on the hunt. We're still on the hunt. If you know her, tell her we're looking for her. May 2010 to April 2012, Aileen Terzian. Aileen Terzian. I don't think she made it. She's going to join us remotely. Thank you. Okay, we do know that Linda Dove from May 2012 to 2014 April is here. Would you please stand and say hello? Just to Linda Dove, right? Following Ms. Dove, May 2014 to April 2016, Dr. Thelma T. Rayner. And you just heard from Ms. Lipkin. I'll repeat that she was the poet laureate May 2016 to April 2018. Okay, after Ms. Lipkin, the laureates became a team. So that first team from May 2018 to April 2020, Hazel Clayton Harrison, who is here. Wow. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And her co-laureate was Teresa Mae Chuck. And she will join us via Zoom later. She's a school teacher and is unable to be here today because of classes. Wherever her school is, it's too far to rush with traffic. 2020, May, April 2022, not much was happening in those years, as we know. Jessica Abogadas was the co-laureate. And Khadija Anderson, who will join us later via Zoom from Tennessee, I believe, right? Somewhere back east. Yep. Which brings us to this year and me and Carla. Say it like that because Carla's my sister. I have another sister at home, my real out the mother sister. Her name is Carla as well. So Carla's going to come up now and handle these different.
Thank you, Brother Peter. I needed another brother, actually, because I don't see my brother often enough. Jim, if you were here, I apologize, but it's true. So I want to tell you a little bit about what we have coming up, and I'm hoping that you'll all be able to join us, starting with, so let me see, make sure I get the dates right this time, since I lost 10 years when I mentioned this poet over here. The first workshop and panel that we have is September 28th, and it's on the art of writing poems for others. How many of you have ever had someone come up to you and ask you if you wanted a poem, and what kind of poem did you need? I see a few yes. Okay. And how many of you have written a poem for someone else? How about for a stranger? Yeah, quite a few. So we're going to have some folks come who have written poems, have really been deep in the art of writing poems for others, on typewriters often. One of our, I'm not sure if it's Brian, are you here? No. Okay. Liz? Cynthia. Okay, they will be here on September 28th. They have written poems for people in places as diverse as the Mall of America, Amtrak, Union Station, where else, Peter?
3rd Street Promenade.
3rd Street Promenade. I've been a part of a group that wrote poems for people during Pride. So while everybody was marching and having a good time, we were out there writing poems for people. So if you come to this workshop, you'll not only hear what the process is, but you'll get to try it out, both having a poem written for you and writing a poem for someone else. So I really hope you can join us. The next thing after that is a reading by this amazing, talented poet, Peter J. Harris, my brother over there. He's gonna be featured as a reader. You're gonna hear some beautiful poetry. He has some books coming out. You might get to hear a sneak preview. And he's gonna have a couple special guests to be announced. You'll have to come to find out, I think. Okay, and then the next workshop after that is on synergies. And this is the idea of looking at what are the relationships between the different arts. And so there will be some absolutely wonderful guests that will be coming along with Peter to teach this workshop on synergies, looking at other areas of the arts, be it music or visual art. Yeah. Then after that, we're going to let you take a rest in December. But if you miss us, you know, maybe we'll come and you can come over here. We'll do special appearance. But we're heading into January, and then we're having a wonderful poet, Xochitl Julissa Bermejo, is going to be teaching a workshop on poetic forms. And for some people, that feels really off-putting if you ever were forced to write a poem in a certain way. But as it turns out, many of these poems are very freeing. And I'm someone who's pretty sometimes anti-structure, but I found that writing into form sometimes can free you up to write, particularly about things that are difficult to talk about, or things that are hard to get to. So I really hope that you can join us for that workshop, which is in January. And then a rare treat, February 25th, I'm going to be the featured poet. I'm going to have several special guests, one of whom is here today, Romaine Washington. I'm part of a group called Women Who Submit. It's not what you think. But it's about encouraging women to submit to top tier literary journals and an incredibly supportive organization. And we're going to have a couple guests from that group that day, along with myself reading. And then the next one is in March 21st. How do you think it would work if you had two poets in one household? I feel like a joke is like headed, but I don't know. If my dad was here, he would come up with it. So you'd have two poets who are married to each other or partnered in some way. We're going to bring in some poetry couples and let them show you how they do it. Okay, and then last, we're going to be doing are people familiar with Poetry and Cookies? Yeah, big, that is going to be a big event that a lot of people like to come to, and we're going to be featuring people who have been published in the Altadena Poetry Review. And Peter here is about to tell you what is happening with that. We're going in a really exciting direction. So I think with that, I'm going to let Peter come and give another voice up here, because I'm tired of hearing this voice for the moment.
So what we're going to do is turn this screen around for you, because so Jessie and Khadijah founded and started the Altadena Poetry Review. As you remember, of course, we were locked down, and their decision, as I understand it, was to go online and make sure that poets would still have a platform to which to submit their work. So what's happening with it this year? So it's a pretty simple thing. We did a little tinkering, and the biggest change is this year. This year, for the entire year, the only way you publish in the journal is to write a new poem in response, or as we're calling it, in synergy with artwork by other artists from Altadena, from Pasadena, from the San Gabriel Valley. So, as this thing does its thing, we know we have some of the artists here. So I want to introduce you to the first cohort, and we'll still be adding artists to that portfolio, which we call the Synergy portfolio. So if there's a way for you to click to that, yeah, so right here is the cover page of the Synergy portfolio. That work is by Isabel Avila. She's a marvelous photographer. Her work was actually on the cover of Hazel and Teresa's, which anthology was that, Hazel? Right, right. So you may recognize this piece. Isabel has allowed us to use it again, along with another one of her pieces. So, oh, by the way, this is Jessie Tovar. We are affectionately naming him the Tech Laureate. Because we're two of the non-techiest folks you'll ever meet. That's right, and he's getting ready to get published in Zizaji, which is a venerable California magazine. So we're really happy to have him press buttons too for us. Now, so let me first do this. Let's vibe on Isabel's piece. And let me read the names of the artists who are comprising our first cohort. And we will add to these names as we start uploading. But right now, I want you to meet these folks. I don't know, Isabel, I'm not sure she was invited, of course, people are busy. But Isabel Avila is the first photographer. J. Michael Walker, please stand, please. One of our master artists in the city, in the region. A wonderful veteran artist of Altadena, South Pass. Karen Gilbert, is she here? Oh, there you are. There you go. Sit down while I got your name on my tongue. Karen is a marvelous photographer. Mike is there, I see him, okay. Mr. William Bing is a marvelous trumpeter and trumpet teacher. Please stand, Mr. Bing. We have some of his music on the site. By the way, this is his music stand. That's how we interact, and he's Carla's teacher. That's right. Thank you, Mr. Bing. Fana Babadayo, is she here? Fana, stand on up. We have some of her marvelous artwork. Karen Banyard, she's not here. She told me she could not make it. You may see some of her work up on the, as you walk down here to the junction area. Her cards are for sale at some of the shops. But she's lived, she told me, in Altadena for 40 plus years. And so she's really hyped to be, we have some of her art there for you to respond to. Dr. Patricia Gay, she's not here, but her work is also on the portfolio. She's a Pasadena resident and a master teacher in terms of psychology and whatnot. But she does these marvelous portraits, these sculptural portraits, and we have some of her work as well. Viviana Aparicio Chamberlain, are you here? Yes, there she is. We have some of Viviana's work, marvelous poet as well. Photographer Ibario Nex Perello, did he make it this afternoon? He's not here. Altadena legend, teacher, author of photography books, just a local master. Richard May, I know he's not here, he lives in San Bernardino, I think, right? Yeah. Yeah, so we know he wasn't coming here. But Richard's work is on the site. And last but certainly not least, my friend and teacher, Ed Bargarina. Ed is a marvelous musician. I won't stop on him for just a beat. So Ed is he's a Northern California native, but he lives in Altadena and has since 2004.
Yeah.
Ed and I have worked together he's done music for plays of mine. We collaborated in 2018 when I was a COLA fellow for the city of LA. He's written music for film. He's a Sundance. He won't tell you any of this stuff unless you're paying him. But this is just one of our local geniuses, and I'm just so honored that he's in. So now I'm going to ask our tech laureate, can you press on the Synergy portfolio? Let's go into, I want people to see the images before we shift to Sister Thelma. Okay, so scroll that joint up, please. You'll stop it right there. So here's how this is going to work, y'all. To my poets in the house, and as you get inspired by this work and you want to write poems, even if you're not super published or it doesn't matter. What you'll do is go to this portfolio, and from these photos, you'll click on them. It'll jump to some images. Can you click, since J. Michael is here, can you just click on this middle one? So now scroll on down, please. I know this ain't poetry, but come on, man, work with me. This is his artwork. Now, it don't even do justice. The dude's got a hand from the all. Can you just scroll on up? Let them see it. Yeah, go the other way, brother Tech Laureate. Can it keep going?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. I just want people to get a vibe on it. Look at this work. Look at this work. Just keep on scrolling. You gotta be so tender. Marvelous stuff, Michael. J. Michael, it's marvelous. Thank you for agreeing. So this is what you'll see. And so in the poetry world, often this is called ekphrastic poetry. And some of us don't like to write ekphrastic poetry. But you're gonna have to, if not like it, you're gonna have to write something to get into the journal. So I would tell you, totally honestly, if we don't generate a lot of work, we get to celebrate our fellow artists, our neighbors, and then I have that much less work to do as an editor. So we are now in the process of transferring this slightly redesigned site with this portfolio embedded over to the library's hosting site. Once it's locked in, confirmed, we'll ask our teammates at the library to send out a notice. We have a poetry mailing list, and we have the overall list. So very soon we'll lock this in, and then we'll ask you to go look at it at your own pace and just sort of absorb it and feel it and decide. And essentially we're saying go beyond ekphrastic into the ecstatic. Okay. All right. So we can close this out now. Thank you guys so much. Look to see some of your work. And everybody who's published in the journal will also be published in the anthology, the print anthology, which will be published next year. We're actually planning something sweet for next year.
Yep.
So, okay, so Carl is going to take care next time.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited about seeing what you all are gonna write, so please spread the word. Okay, so now we're gonna get started. You want to hear some poetry? Yeah, okay, we're gonna start out with Polly Dutton's husband, Richard Dutton, reading one of Polly's poems, as well as one poem by the inaugural poet laureate, Ralph Lane. Come on up. We are also going to send a big hug and well wishes to Polly, who is not well right now and could not join us, but thankfully her lovely husband is here.
Okay. Hello. I'm Richard Dutton, husband of Pauline Dutton, who began the Poet Laureate program at the Altadena Library. She could not be here tonight, so asked me to take her place. I will read a poem by Ralph Lane, the library's first Poet Laureate, who passed away a few years ago. And then a poem Pauline wrote. Here's Ralph Lane's The Actress. The Actress by Ralph Lane. She was the image of delight. The image of delight towering like a cone to the endless sight. Shimmering saffron, silken through her hair. Her cool breasts bare. Upon her loins a navcrest sash, and glittering attire, encircling her breasts, braceleting her arms and thighs came brilliance borrowed from the skies. For true portrayals there were laurels. Across the land her voicings strolled, and through the hills praise echoes rolled. Drifting, caressed with a crown, as the quiet cosmos whirled, her vision in a gilded gown walked all alone across a golden world. Okay, I got this. And now a poem by Pauline titled An Ordinary Trinity. She wasn't Mary, he wasn't Joseph. The child was a daughter, as close to God as they'll ever know. The father poured the daughter into his extra-wide wing-tipped tubes from physics and calculus and pi. The mother measured the IQ of her daughter's feet, a higher power than her own, worshipped at her sandals, overplayed her role as teacher's helper until the daughter shouted stop. One afternoon, the father and mother drove to the beach, and the daughter moved to another ocean. The birds in their garden ceased winging. The mother quit singing. The daughter whistled every day. Perhaps the mother felt relief from trying to be a good enough parent for a demagogue. As the father, he could finish that form. He began when she was born. Once upon a time, a princess came to live in a house that wasn't good enough. Perhaps the daughter needed to create her own gallery. Once it became visible, perhaps she'd invite the parents to feast, or of never-ending loaves of bread, fish, and wine. Offer them fishing poles and a walk on the sea. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. And because Polly originally was going to give us a little bit of a history of the Poet Laureate program, we're just going to have Del Morena take a couple minutes to tell you a little bit about how it was started. Yeah, no, you just come up here.
There. All right, well, we're here because of Polly. Way back before 2004, 2005. Polly Dutton was the head librarian of this library here for about 13 years. Always did a fantastic job. And she was a poet as well as being a wonderful library director. And one day, this gentleman whom you have heard of named Ralph Lane came up to her and said, where do you have poetry readings? Or do you ever have poetry readings? Polly said, no. And he said, well, I think you should. So Polly decided to look into it, and she did. She talked to another, I don't know the name of the library right now, but another library that had a poet laureate in the vicinity. She picked those people's brains. Well, what do you do? How do you get it going? And she talked to her team here at the library. There were a couple of poets on her staff that she highly regarded. And then she even went to the Altadena Town Council and talked to them about, how do you all feel? Can you hear me okay? I'm so short. How do you all feel if we start a poet laureate program? And the council was very supportive, and they said, well, if it's going to be under your auspices, under your purview, feel free to call it Poet Laureate of the Altadena Library District, which is what happened. And then you've already heard about how Ralph Lane in 2006 became the first Poet Laureate. So once Polly had covered the bases, gotten everyone's agreement that, yeah, let's go ahead and have this Poet Laureate, she and her team put together basically how they were going to deal with it. And it was going to be a 2-year appointment, which is standard procedure for Poets Laureate, just about anywhere. It was going to be an unpaid position, which again is standard procedure. And moving forward after Ralph Lane, a Poet Laureate candidate had to submit copies of his or her poetry, as well as at least one major library project. So the parameters were set. This is how we shall choose. Mr. Lane was chosen by Polly, her 2 poets, and perhaps one other person, and he was installed. And then they went into the program for real with these other ideas. So Peter has already told you that after Ralph Lane was Marcia Thompson in 2008, Aileen Turgeon in 2010, Linda Dove in 2012, myself in 2014, Elaine Lipkin, who had to leave in 2016, Teresa May Chuck, who's a teacher far away, and Hazel Harrison, the dynamic duo in 2018, Khadija Anderson, who's out of state right now, and her wonderful partner, Jessica Abogadas in 2020. And of course, now we are here in the present with our wonderful new dynamic duo, Peter J. Harris and Carla Samuth, who will be the Poets Laureate for the next couple of years. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Thelma. So next up, we have Linda Dove.
Yeah, I'm Dr. Linda Dove, and I want to thank Peter and Carla first and foremost for the invitation today and this lovely programming and this crowd. Wow. I was just saying, I think, to Thelma earlier that this is the first time I've read inside in 3 years. And it's been a while since I've read to this big an audience. So this is fun. I also want to mention Polly Dutton, who I worked closely with a decade ago when I was the Poet Laureate of Altadena. It was a wonderful experience. I wasn't sure what I was going to read today, but I think I'm going to read a new piece. It has an epigraph from Miguel Hernandez, his poem, The Lullaby of the Onion. And I'm going to read the epigraph in Spanish in the original, but it's translated into English at the end of my poem. So if you don't speak Spanish, you'll get the translation eventually. This poem is called The Lark. Alondra de mi casa riete mucho. Miguel Hernandez. Another bird lodged in my mouth, as if song is a hunger. Flight is harder to swallow. A lover is a bird. A dream is a feather lost on pavement. I want to give you each thing I see. Make it stay. Here is a tree. Here is a wind-blasted stone. Here is a bird with a golden cheek. I try to believe in time. Unwrap the moth-bitten wool, the lighthouse, the deer hanging in purgatory. In the envelope is a prayer. I arrive too late, though. The room is vacant, dark. A recognition lingers like scent. I came so close to a different life. My mouth trembles with wings and mistakes. I bless them as they go. Lark of my house, keep laughing. Thank you.
Come back up. Okay. You insist. We insist.
I'll be reading from my first poetry collection, which was actually the year I was Poet Laureate in 2014. So this is one of my older poems. And I happen to think that it's still timely today. So this is why I want to read this particular one to you. And it is called Hunger. It's a persona poem, so it's not me that's really speaking. Hunger. I can take the grumbles, the groans that gurgle in my stomach morning, night, and long hours at my desk. I can take my belly sticking to itself inside. I can take this. As a child in little Texas towns, field to field, I learned that food is not a given. Work doesn't magically bring food, and some of us aren't meant to eat as others do. My father's back was black from sun, my mother's hands like broken stone. My own were crisscrossed red from cotton bolls, sharp leaves, and thorns. Your hands weren't meant for pencils, Mama said, or for kissing, Papa muttered as he sat on dirt at noon. But he pressed my fingers to his lips and smiled and took a bite of bread. I could take it, eating like birds, working like horses, pushing tired bones. We piled on quilts spread on the floor at night and hummed grandmother's songs to stave our hunger. We all took it, stripped of hearts, but beating on. But my children are a different test. They look out dusty glass on windows high above the street, Chicago lights just twinkling on in shops and sidewalks far below. The long night just unwinding. My boy and girl have drunk their cup of milk and eaten the sandwich they split. I gave them crackers and cellophane I picked up at the deli kiosk at my job. They lie like urchins in my bed, two stowaways with legs entwined like twigs, bellies grumbling under the blanket that used to be mine. When our room is black and still, neons blinking half a block away, with alley drunks passed out below, I wonder at the world. I wonder at this world, at how it takes and takes and takes, at how our bones can break in toil, and our hearts collapse, and our spirits desiccate without a murmur of protest. I wonder at this world, at how children lie in cribs or sit at desks, or lean on stoops with bellies vacant and souls the same, and how the world goes
on. I can take it for myself. I can take it. Children, children, oh, children.
Dr. Thelmer, oops. Wow, and next we have Hazel Clayton Harrison.
I've become a little bit paranoid with the pandemic. The last time I took off my mask at a gathering, it was a wonderful party and they were dancing and everyone was having a wonderful time. I threw it off. We were dancing and 3 days later I got sick. But oh well. First of all, it's wonderful to be here. I want to thank Carla and Peter for inviting me. Thank the library, thanks to Nikki, and thanks to all of you. The last time we were here was in person was 2019. So this is really quite an occasion. Tonight I'm going to read a poem. Actually, I've been doing a lot of writing during the pandemic. And the Altadena representatives from the Altadena Chamber of Commerce asked me to write a poem about Altadena. And I thought I've lived here for over 20 years and thought I knew a lot about Altadena, but I ended up spending many, many hours here at the library and doing research. And they wanted it to be, I look out over at the audience and you guys are so beautiful. And that's part of the beauty, the treasure of Altadena is its diversity. I've lived in many parts of Southern California, and this is home. So anyway, I wrote this poem. I'll read if it's a narrative poem and it's historical. So I may not get through the whole thing, but I just want to share it with you. It's called Altadena, from yesterday's open fields to today's brick and mortar. History tells us it was the Woodbury brothers, Fred and John, who purchased the lands on which our idyllic city now stands. Yet if we dig deeper into Altadena's soil, we'll discover it was the blood, sweat, and toil of many hands that labored to enrich the roots of a place that still produces such bountiful fruits. Long before Spanish soldiers landed on California's golden sands, Indian nations had for centuries inhabited these lands. Throughout the West Coast, they were known as Tongva, and those who dwelled in the hills and canyons of Alta California were known as the Haramanga. Peacefully, they lived among bobcats and bears, cougars and coyotes. But what gifts did they leave for today's economy? To feed their families, Haramanga men hunted and fished. They were often seen sailing downstream, their teats overflowing with furs, fowls, and fishes. Their women taught us how to make breads from wild oats and acorns. And oh, by chopping off prickly pear thorns, the sweet juices they made, more refreshing than ice cold lemonade. They steamed yucca flower stalks like asparagus, and from their fibrous leaves, fishnets, shelters, and baskets were weaved. Though the Haramanga fought hard their culture to sustain, they soon lost battles to explorers from Spain. Yet to this day, their gifts to Altadena remain. While immigrants from Mexico and Spain came to stake their claim, the surviving Haramangans were driven into missions to be converted to Christians. Some Hispanics grew prosperous and wealthy caballeros and rancheros they became. Stretching far and wide over Alta's hillsides, their great ranches and adobes were a great source of pride. They brought with them their Latin music and dancing, and throughout Alta lands played mariachi bands. Now let us pay tribute to the common man who labored for the rich as cooks, caretakers, and ranch hands. History taught us that in Virginia, John Brown led the Harper's Ferry raid to liberate Blacks who had been enslaved. For his deeds, John Brown was captured and hanged, but he inspired Union armies that marched and sang, John Brown's body lies a molded in the grave, but his soul goes marching on. The stars above are looking kindly down on the body of old John Brown. But few know that John Brown's son, Owen, took part in that raid. After escaping to California in a cabin over Altadena with his brother Jason, Owen stayed. For joining the raid, Owen was never placed under arrest. Years later, he passed away, and over Altadena on Little Round Top, his body now rests. Perhaps Owen Brown's legacy was to remind us all that all Americans have a right to be free. All Americans have a right to be free. Now let us honor the memory of Robert Owen, a former slave from Texas. He earned a living in El Prado Canyon chopping wood. He made a fortune investing in land, and to uplift his less fortunate brethren, he did all he could. He befriended Bridget Biddy Mason, who was freed by California law. When her master attempted to take her to Texas to re-enslave her, he sent his vaqueros to save her. In the late 1800s, wealthy whites migrated from the East and helped to build Altadena's industry. On their Sphinx Ranch near Eaton Canyon, the Bells, William and Henry, and William and Emily planted vineyards and built a winery. The Woodbury brothers not only planted tall deodars that still grace Christmas Tree Lane, but they sold their water rights to the Rubio Canyon Land and Water Association. And to this day, our water is supplied by that organization. In 1902, Altadena's first commercial building, the La Mariposa Hotel and Tavern, was erected on Lake Avenue. Run by the Websters, the building soon grew into a shopping center that housed the model grocery store. And there in the early 1920s, the US Post Office opened its doors. Today, we stand on hallowed ground, cultivated by many hands, red, black, white, and brown. Let us honor all who helped our economy grow strong and well. Our ancestors, brave souls who built this land, are buried here, and among us, their spirits dwell. Like a mighty California live oak, Altadena's roots are many. Let us live together as one in peace, harmony, and unity.
Thank you, that was beautiful. Next, we have Jessica Abogadas. Come on up.
Oh, hi everyone. Thanks for having me. It's so good to be in this room and see it so full of people who are passionate about poetry. I so wish that we would have had that time together when I was Poet Laureate in 2020 and 2021. But I'm so excited what Peter and Carla have in store and for the way that they're running submissions. I think it's going to be really exciting to see everyone's poems. I was thinking about what I wanted to share, and I watched this new TV show on Netflix that came out today called Mo. It's really good. It's about a Palestinian American family, and I am Palestinian, and I've never seen a Palestinian American family depicted on TV that way before. And so I thought, you know, I could read a poem about Altadena, but we all know it pretty well. So I'm going to write a poem speaking to my sensibilities as a Palestinian, as a displaced person, and thinking about the rich history of social justice and the poetics of solidarity that are in this community. This poem is called Strip, and it's from my book Strip that came out in 2020. Strip. To remove all contents or possessions from. To empty completely. A sequence of images telling a story. A main road in or leading out of a town. A long narrow shape, especially of a woman. To tear the thread or teeth from. To dispossess, leave bare, remove all coverings. To press the eggs from, a splayed fish. To gut. To remove bark and branches from an olive tree. To remove the midrib from its leaves. To milk a cow to the last drop. To barefoot the child always drawn from behind. To deprive someone of. To take away from, confiscate. To rob, ravage, ransack, raid, reave, rifle. To fire a bullet from a rifled gun. To rip the sheets from a bed. To lay bare, devastate, sack. To tease, example, prisoners down to their underwear. To denude, delude, to divest. To remove the fittings of or take apart a machine, to inspect it, to adjust it. Example, a tank, piece by piece. To dismantle, disassemble, demolish, deny. To take to pieces, take to bits, take apart, break up. To recall El Doema, Dier Yassin, Hula, Tershifa, Jish. To clear, clean out, loot, pillage, plunder. To, often polemically, insist on nuance. To paint Guernica upon a camp entrance. To make the body believe lies about itself. To hear over a megaphone in one's native tongue, today is Judgment Day. To sell off for profit. To use for or involve in performance. To $100 bill. To entertain. To scatter like the people of Sheba. To desire no sense of permanence. To undress suddenly and into the dead sea.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Now we're going to turn to Zoom for our three poets who need to come in remotely. And the first poet we'll read is Teresa May Check. Do we need to stay tuned?
Hi, Carla. Can everyone hear me? Can everyone hear me? Hello? Hello? Hi, can everyone hear me? Okay. This is actually my first time zooming in this way to a live reading. I wanted to thank Peter Harris and Carla Sameth for inviting me, and I congratulate them and wish them all the best. We're very lucky to have Peter and Carla as our poet laureates. I grew up in Pasadena, Altadena area since the age of 2, so it was a real great honor for me to be Altadena Poet Laureate Editor-in-Chief 2018 to 2020 with Hazel, Clayton, Harrison. I just love the community that I'm in, and I'm grateful to share this space with everyone. That I'm just going to read one short poem, and I think this time, this epoch, or this period of time that we're experiencing in humanity really calls for us to engage in the process of photosynthesis. So I wanted to share my poem that I wrote for my son. Photosynthesis. How can I convince you that you do have chlorophyll, that you can take the sun's energy and turn it into sugar, produce something sweet inside of you, take the waste people breathe out and make it into something that will keep you alive, that will keep those around you alive, create oxygen. Why do you say that this metaphor doesn't work, that you don't have the powers of a plant, that nature didn't intend you that way? Look how you twist and turn towards the light. Thank you again to Peter and Carla and all the poet laureates that came up and read, and to the community.
Next up, we have Khadija Anderson. Thank you so much, Teresa.
Hi, everyone. I think you can hear me, but my video has been shut off somehow. Oh, here we go. Yay. Okay, this is a little odd because I can't see anyone or hear anything, so I'm just going to assume everybody can hear me. Can you? Will I be able to hear you? Okay. Hello? Okay, you can hear me. Great. Thank you, everybody. This is a first for me too, Teresa. I've never read via Zoom. Just all I can see is me. So I'm just going to pretend I'm looking at all of you. And yeah, thanks to everyone, to Carla and Peter. And what a fun event. And love reading with all these great poets. And it's great to be here with you. I'm currently in Nashville. I'm here in the States briefly visiting my kids. I dropped my youngest off at college in Brooklyn the other day, so I won't make it down to LA this trip. But a year and a half ago, I moved to the mountains of northern Portugal. And this is a poem about that I wrote just recently. And it's called At the Taberna, which is tavern. So. At the taberna, Manuel tells me the little bowl is called a malga. His grandfather would only drink red wine this way, or sometimes in a clay cup. I fill the bowl with red wine from the bottle on the table and cup it in my two hands. Because isn't it better to hold the wine in your hands in a bowl made from the earth in which you have grown the grapes, where you let the cattle in the vineyard to eat the weeds and wild blackberries growing there, distill the spent grape skins to make aguardiente to put in the coffee at lunch for strength? And didn't the very oldest grandfathers drink sopa cavallo cansado for breakfast, bread soaked in red wine and sugar? Because they grew the grapes from the earth under your feet, and it is better drunk from a small clay bowl. Thank you, everybody. I wish I could see you. It's great being here. I'll be listening. Ciao.
Our last.
Hello. Okay, here we go. All right, can you see me?
Yeah.
Great, perfect. Hi, everyone. I am coming at you from Redondo Beach. It was my daughter's back to school night. I was teaching all day, and then it was my daughter's back to school expo. So I raced home to make it to this wonderful event. And I just want to thank Peter and Carla for reaching out. Carla, especially, I spoke to you on the phone, and I really appreciated our conversation. I was recovering from COVID, so it was horrible. I today am going to share with you the newest poem I've written, which I don't typically do, but I thought, this is a good place to try it on. This is called Abecedarian for an Immigrant Girl in Cambridge, Ontario. And for those of you who don't know what an abecedarian is, essentially it's a poem where every single line is the beginning of the different letter of the alphabet. So it goes from A all the way to Z. So here we go. Abecedarian for an Immigrant Girl in Cambridge, Ontario. A is for alligator, Mrs. Sandylands says, before pronouncing my name, Eileen, then A-line. Chrissy chortles, leans to the right, delights in my European loafers, entirely too small, my braided hair festooned with butterfly barrettes, the new girl, this A-line, this leaning tower. I say hello to Mrs. Sandylands, who asks if I can read the sentence on the board. Joe's jacket was by the jar of jam. Kindergartners wait, greedy to laugh at my halting English. I want words like missiles to fly out and make deep impressions. No, my name is Aline. I come from Beirut. Oh dear, says Mrs. Sandylands, we can try again tomorrow. I practice saying thank you, pretend not to notice the quiet room, the inferno. Instead, I remember the breeze on our balcony, roasting chestnuts, simple syrup, the lapping waves on the ship that brought us here. To this room, me, unable to say, it's Aline, like honest, or balm, or veranda. So I repeat the handful of words I've learned, my tongue clicking. X is for xylophone, the melody of it, yearning for this new language, to shout zebra and zipper and zero from the mountaintops. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Arlene. Hi, you remember me. You might remember this time. Love letter to a burning world, Southern California, 2020. Praise the dark that covers us with ashes. This morning tears, reminding us why we cherish the not burning baby cry of awake, not heartbreak. Mom, I need a hug, please. I just can't seem to do anything right. Raphael, the angel name. Should we have birthed a warrior instead, one who could fight the demons? I can't say for sure I'm an addict, but I'm doing too much. He gets up, then decides he'd rather smoke, not feeling okay right now. I am twisted up, feel the same way, not okay. No, son, what you are feeling are singed embers after 6 months of shutdown, broken glass, murder after murder of men and women the color of your skin, at traffic stops, in the dark, in bed, while jogging, anywhere. Praise the path that brought you here today, a boomerang. Mom, I can't make it. I'm at the car repair. I need to keep looking for someone who can fix it. The drop, like we hear in music. I hear it in his soul. My face is wet as he leaves in a gust. I have to meet my friends at the demonstration. I'll feel better, more purpose. Do you kill a child by holding or letting go? Ashes, ashes as he runs out the door. Doesn't he know this is an emergency? Like the blare of fire warning, pack your bags comes from the evacuation order. Today, his voice searing into my chest. Praise his tears for crying with me. Praise the seat that holds me fast. Because I know we're a little tired of the heat, I'm going to take you to some snow. I was in New Mexico for a writing residency last February, and this is one of the poems I wrote there. God blowing bubbles. God is playing basketball, my son used to say with an earthquake. God is sneezing, he might say about a tornado, though we never saw one. What is God doing today, I ask myself, as the streets fill with white wonder. I'm back in New Mexico, a small town, Carrizozo. Flakes fall like little gliders, then heavier white parachutes. Soon there are vanilla milkshakes spilled across the street in front. The burro sculptures in the courtyard are covered, and I'm thinking, more, more. I remember snow days, a gift from, well, we wouldn't say gods. You see, we didn't believe in that, not even enough to capitalize. Though I secretly prayed when I was older and in big trouble, like lost on the red-brown mesas that all looked alike in Chaco Canyon, where I was a young intern, just graduated from high school. Last night, I felt fluttery, rapturous even at the expanse of white, a voyager to a planet far from Southern California. My nascent senses dulled from pandemic isolation, rendered wide awake. I wanted to call out, as if back in Seattle, elementary school closed, and soon we'd be out sledding, or open the playground of battlefield. And I was Sammy Boy, not afraid of riffraff or warmongers. The bony, mean principal, Mrs. Krantz, no longer monolithic and scary. Something about that fluffy, cold substance liberated us, perhaps even hitting a teacher with a random snowball. Running onward as if we could face down any adversary, then slide into space. I wish for that confidence now. Sometimes fear slips into my lungs like a tiny blue-eyed bird, a sleek, flittering thing, spraying the surface of my consciousness, like the ever-present drizzle of Seattle. There we one more. Does anyone here ever have any regrets? No, right? There is nothing gentle about regret. I am a veritable hoarder, stocking my cupboards with overflowing boxes of, why didn't I? And if only I had. My backyard, a swamp I wade through knee deep, moldy piles of should-haves, a house, a lover, a pregnancy, a book. Vultures swoop in to pick over dismembered decisions. Where is the sweetened lemonade you would have given to a parched friend, telling her, you did the best you could? This has always been in short supply. You might have wrapped up in the softest quilt you'd toss over your dearest one. Instead, you choose the meanest sledgehammer, the heaviest wire cutter, and pay the toughest matcha outside True Value Hardware in Altadena. The one with 10 eyebrow piercings, and ask her to break the lock to your garage where you stored last decade's regrets. Time to dust them off and mourn the life you could have lived. But this steely-eyed Sabra surprises you. She speaks to you in Ladino, tells you to burn it all down. drags the softest horsehair blanket from her truck, drapes it over your shame-scarred shoulder and tells you a bright star glows inside of you that spells Herculean, your throttled tribe, that turns you upside down and inside out. You did the best you could. Inene, I am here, she paints on your heart, then kisses you gently goodbye and disappears, a sweet-smelling dust devil. You light a match, toss it in, lock the garage door, and walk away.
Okay, so one more administrative thing. So I can wear the hat I'm here for. So in everybody's seats were season flyer for the September gig and an envelope. And if there's no envelope, we'll check with our library colleagues. And that envelope invites you to become a donor to the Laureate program. So if you're able to do that, check, credit card, whatever, make sure you put in there for the Laureate program. And it is tax deductible and all of that stuff. But now I'm kind of bored by the administrative stuff. Because I know how to do it, but this is what I prefer. The first thing out the mouth don't even have to be words. Rapture scatting, praise faces beaming, good in you, bending light in this room. Illuminate the do-right coursing in the bloodstream of people you meet or children you raise. Enunciate the first thing. Not like you a duet partner with Sarah Vaughan. Send in the clouds for real. Laughter scatters red joy. Baggy improvisation brightens eyes. Music faces merry-go-round. Like, what if the first thing sound like Muhammad Ali floating boasts on a summer cloud? What if the first thing sound like Sweet Honey in the Rock, blending out front of a militant hum? Or Malcolm pinpointing on a cushion of New Day Errol Garner? Or Mother Wit guiding by the light of Ida B. Wells? Or you yourself being to the core of daylight in your baby's eyes? What is the sound of the second thing? The third thing? If the first thing out my mouth wears on your ear with proof of an original tongue, what is the movement that follows when you have been touched by electric confidence? And you have been told ever so sincerely, day to day, on a regular basis, without even one request for interpersonal refund, that you are a miracle wrapped up in human flesh. Yeah, all right, so this is what we're gonna do. Carla gave you about 5 minutes. I'm gonna give you a quick 5. She's gonna bounce back, quick 5, and then I'm gonna take us home. Can I live with that? Can you live with that?
Yeah.
I'm so happy you're here. We are always arriving, navigating between every between. That whisper. Oh, baby, that's your grandmother visiting her kitchen between the H2 and O. Giddy up, love. Show me power, eyes inflamed with doubt can witness. Laid my children, laid family laid women, laid money, laid time at your altar. Stood for you, love, stood up to you. Bleed into me with an R&B transfusion. Dress morning sky in crimson when I pray. Spread moss under my feet when I dance after sunset's call. Marry me, love. Be good for me. I lay my mother at your altar. Father, memory, laid faith, laid hope. I tortured myself in your name. Expressed myself without gain. Help me find my rhythm beyond my blues. Help me moan till I regain my sight. Lay my tears, lay my loss, lay my want at your altar. Lay my groan, lay my ache. Giddy up, love. Gallop out my nostrils. Pull up to my bumper. Wink at me. Size me up. Teach me rhythm beyond blues. Show me power, eyes witness your flame. Can I doubt that whisper? Oh, baby, that whisper.
Wow, it's always a hard act to follow, Peter. But I'm gonna try. This first poem I'm gonna read is from this book, What Is Left. They're all poems that were written during the pandemic in the first from March to August 2020. And if you want a copy, I have a few here. And believe it or not, there is some humor in this as well. So if you feel too depressed to read a collection of pandemic poetry, it might make you smile too. I don't know if anyone's felt like this during this period. Unspooled. Sometimes I feel as if I'm undone, a big spool of yarn, rolling down a steep hill and out into the street, down the garbage gathered drain. Other times I'm standing in front of Ramon's apartment building in Mexico City. Remember when I broke that bottle of tequila Herradura? It shattered in big shards and little slivers. Híjole, y fue uno de los buenos. The doorman lamented, watching the smooth white liquid spill onto the sidewalk, lost. I wonder what they would say about me as I fall and crash to smithereens. I want to laugh out loud when I see I'm as solid as a snow cone, as if I could be slurped up, tossed out, or simply melt away. As if I could be a sweetness craved, a crying child's dream on steaming summer days. Prescription. Wrap arms tightly around chest. Imagine freshly baked challah. Imagine a Friday night when you allow yourself to rest your shredded senses and put on that white lace Brazilian dress. Do not think of shards. Think instead of strong vigas, high ceilings, an unobstructed view of the Big Dipper, Leonard Cohen carrying your darkness in his secret chords. Sing hallelujah, sing hinene, I am here. I am a woman of almost 62 years old, of no special bravery. Every day I wake up to my wife, clutching me tightly, then singing loudly, and the cat, once a teen mama, pounding on the door. Last night's gunshots not yet forgotten. Turn up the sound, I say, that song about waking up and working hard each day. Though I am a woman inert until I decide to throw off all the weighted memories, falling down interiors, the magic elastic that holds my unkind body tight to my imagination. Until I step out and blow kisses to the hummingbird, frantic, ecstatic, or just doing its job, circling the bird of paradise. 2 years older than I was when my son, friends, and family threw that party for me, the trio playing songs I'd once danced to, baby in sling, ojos negros, piel canela, the carne, the aguas, las flores, pastel de las tres leches. My friend Gary showed up, only to jump from a parking structure weeks later. He told me it's been a rough year, and I agreed, it's been a year. And he said, we'll talk, but we never did, not really. He only called me to tell me how proud he was of me, my son, all we've done. And damn him, he didn't wait for that conversation about the obliterating fog, the deep downward slide, the gray, as if he were another Seattle child, or whatever said to him, jump, Gary, jump. I am a woman almost 62 who once had moxie, chopped wood, built trails, leaped in front of skinheads who threatened me and my two sisters, a tiny speck lost in a corner, wondering if I'll rise up and blow out to the sky when we finally can open the doors. 62, but still the nail that may not bend, the mango sweet and spicy, chili and limon that bring your mouth alive, the lips that remember the softest kisses billowing across continents, only to discover they were once here, right beside me. The skater leaping, flying, shimmying, a fountain of joy. And since I'm not gliding, my son is, sliding through Venice Beach and home again to me. I am the arms that held him, milky sweet sweat, that opened up skyward to the honeyed moon and bright, bright stars. I have one last poem. Your eyes are sea color, but do you remember? With an epigraph. The walls of that grotto were every color blue, and you said, look, your eyes are sea color. And Sexton, the nude swim. Your eyes are thirsty capsules, as if onyx could be blue, smooth amalgam. Our rifts cannot last long. The ubiquitous, you don't listen, you're shut down. You're too emotional, too loud, calm down. I feel these days as if I trespass. Your territory is so unknown. Do you see me as vapid, wishing only to manifest the breasts now gone? I look to the sky, the clearest blue, street white snow spotted. If I could knit, I would answer my questions by making you a cap. Instead, I write this poem, think of crisp green apples and the last time I saw you standing in California Plaza. Too young, I thought, but cute, very pretty. I used to love to hold you, one breast cupped in my hand. Now I hold you, arms careful not to touch that place of removed flesh. Is it enough to say I love you, I'd never leave you? Am I a killjoy if I complain of missing you as woman? Tough, mannish, but sometimes you cried like a broken rag doll. Now you brush me and my tears away as if I am a mosquito or pesky fly. Thank you.
Beautiful work, beautiful evening. I'd like to ask you all to just take a stand up with me. Just breathe a bit. I know you've been sitting a while. We super appreciate you coming. I first heard this instrument as a teenager in Washington, D.C. Y'all remember Earth, Wind, and Fire? That's where I first heard this instrument. Turn me out. I cannot play, but it's just a beautiful tune, beautiful sound. I wanted to just thank you, Carla. Thank you all the former laureates for being here, for our friends online. We have some brilliant folks in the audience. I can see them who have just inspired me with their work. And we wanted to start off this season like this. We wanted to gather if we could. When we found a tech laureate, we wanted to be able to broadcast, bring people in on Zoom. I play this also to let you know that to me, poetry is full body. It's completely sensory. It's intellectual, it's emotional. It's all of that. It's music, it's dance, it's theater, off key sometimes. You know, I just wanted to say that, you know, Altadena has been super kind to me. This library has been a marvelous, marvelous home. I do have a library card. If you do not get one, please. If you want to stand, I'm from a testifying tradition, so you can feel free to stand. But if you want to sit back down, that's cool too. I'm going to close it out. Thank you, Carla. Powerful to share work with you. We've never read together. See what Laureate do? This season, life. This need, life. This season, this need, this crying season, this laughing need, this Peter, this man, this fool, need this season, need this need, need this life, need this foolishness. When he cry, human. When he laugh, human. Morning out of the pores, night between the hands. 30-year-old vinyl echoes circulate his blood. Daily stamina of beauty recreate sound beyond instinct. This moment, poised with paradox in the back pocket of his humanity. Years of gratitude dancing in the nearsight eyes. Oh, I need this season. I need this need. I need this life. I need this foolishness. Put down your gun. Pick up your baby. Undo your collar. Open up your arms. Strip off your uniform. Salute to your equal. Unpin your badge. Reveal your rib cage. Dismount your tomahawk. Home train your tongue. Swallow your mushroom cloud. Civilize your crosshairs. Put down your gun. Pick up your baby. We hush children with full clip seduction. Check their fever with kerosene rags. Dab running noses with knuckles polished by crocodile tears. Refuse to shed dead excuses while our youngins are killed in the line of duty. At the seance, we must hold an atonement. I will enter the room wearing a collage of drive-by camisole, carjacked khaki pants, a ghetto bird overcoat, sneakers with Rodney King laces and neon heels. And from my backpack, I will pull bottles of holy water distilled at room temperature, a cassette tape of toddlers giggling at the silly jokes of serious men and women, a videotape of mothers and fathers smashing 40-ounce bottles and crack vials, whitewashing cigarette billboards and pimping through the halls of Congress with rehabilitated lobbyists. My skin, covered with a tattoo bearing the names of children starved by forgetful recipients of affirmative action. My third eye, a hologram with the shifting images of pie charts comparing government welfare for citizens and corporation. in the rotunda, where we must hold the seance of atonement. The voices of the despised children will rage along the curves of the circular walls, the indignant, agonized sound shredding the protocol of NRA mailings, interrupting the remarks of the senator from Shadowland, shattering the goblets, clinked and toasts of accomplishment, challenging our satisfied laughter. I cannot just hold hands in the dark. Something is wrong with our babies. The seance is over. Something is wrong with me. I put down my gun. My collar is open at the throat. My uniform is a pile of cloth at my feet. My badge has been spun into piano wire. My Sam and Dave tongue bleeds the music of earth, wind, and fire. And through the crosshairs of civilization, I read the stones of a kaleidoscope. When something is wrong with our babies, something is wrong with me. Okay, so this is the last piece of the evening. We thank you so much for being here. Carl and I have worked super hard to do this. And we hope it shows how serious we take poetry. We hope it shows how seriously we take this community. We borrowed a page from the music center or other theaters, and we created a season of poetry, a season of readings and workshops. You know what I mean? Everybody's busy. If you can make it, we will see you there. If you cannot make it, just don't talk bad about us and send somebody else. I take poetry really seriously. I do not take myself that seriously. So it's a great joy to be here, being silly and loving this amazingly publicly funded epicenter of our work. We thank not only Ms. Winslow, but all of her staff. They have been absolutely generous to us. Did you agree with me? They designed all the flyers and have worked with us. So I just want to say that again. It's so important for you all to know that we are embedded in a community. We may have our virtuoso skill sets, and we do. You know, we are virtuosos at this. You know, you know why? Because we work our asses off doing it. This ain't no accident. So I like to close. I rarely use the titles of poems. This is called Levitation. It's from a brand new book. Okay, this is when I love the mic sometimes. This book is called Safe Arms, 20 Love and Erotic Poems. Can I get a witness? With an ooh, baby, baby moan. It's modeled off of the master Pablo Neruda's 20 Love Poems and a Song of Despair. It's also translated into Spanish. Come on now. Now, I'm serious. Watch this, point guard time. I'm running a fast break, but over to my left is my brother and translator, Francisco Letelier. Would you please stand? If you don't know, get to know. He designed the cover. He's a muralist par excellence. Where's my French teacher? I know I messed it up. So great to have you here, bro. Really. This common shore, arrival ground, capital city of our 10-finger democracy. Home to daybreak mouths unbuttoned speech, glowing bodies, dazzling home for citizens ending disrespected journeys. We rise in the same morning, witness flames of intention, tiptoe on the surface of time. Nothing has a chance of ever being the same. No instrument could measure the pleasure your boiling visitation brings to me. No eye see, no mouth say, no other who has not loved and left my mother's womb would I trust to know this new secret about me. We take the oath of office, pledge to uphold the levitation. My right hand raised, testifying like in church back home. Your left hand poised, affirming as in sacred rites, accenting your beloved land. Velvet hands, naked shoulders, alliance of vulnerable directions. Oh, we are crossing latitudes here. Unmarked, thick with trees in season, humid with wild gaze and unknowns. Around our open throats, we drape curiosity, smoothing knots into patterns that could cause war in the past. Culture changes when people weave new patterns like this. Feeling ripens when strangers design new patterns like this. Love surprises when people risk new patterns like this.
Great audience, thank you so much for coming. It's-
There you go. We'll see you at the workshops.